Greetings and welcome, brethren. Today is a beautiful Sabbath day, and we're seeing the 6th of November, 2021. And I'm joined here with Michael all the way from Germany to the United States here. And I wanted to just quick remind everyone that it's the scriptures that we are hopefully in service to, and I'm hoping that our listeners will be more prepared to deal with the troubles that are coming ahead, Michael, because our world is greatly deceived. I mean, I've been deceived for a very long time, and to come to this knowledge of the truth has taken me a long time, and I've had to deal with a lot of shortcomings on my end. But I think that in the long run, you're better off, facing the facts rather than ignoring them, because ignorance is not bliss on this YouTube channel. We do not encourage people to ignore their history and their Bible, especially, the salvation that Christ came to give us. And I just wanted to quick remind everyone that it's very, very important that we do our own research and take these things very seriously. So on that note, welcome, Michael.
Yeah, welcome, Brett, and welcome, dear brethren. And I don't know if brethren includes sisters. You have to tell me.
Yes,
absolutely. It does. Okay. Absolutely. So now fine. I was a little bit curious. Yeah, actually, I just realized that many people are not accessible to the Bible. That means we have to take another approach to get them where they actually are. And many of the so-called educated, studied, professed people, they are only in their let's call it agenda or so, in their science, what they have studied, and they think that, oh yeah, everything has been contradicted. The Bible is absolutely a fairy tale book because science says and science claimed. But I think that we have found out in the last sessions that science is just a product of the church, and science is just a product of the so-called consensus that it has been told, which is an absolutely blatant lie, that all the scientists they are just having one opinion and it has been proven. And we have found out that nothing has been proven except that the word of God is true, and except that they all are lying, because man is fallible and Satan is the father of lies and the king of deception, however you would like to name him. And this is just the problem, that people can easily be deceived, because in the world of science, one step comes after the other, and first you come up with a different story of the history of the earth, and you come up with a different story of the history of mankind, then you come up with a different story and with another theory, and a theory based upon a theory and another theory. And so they got along with the false doctrine of the heliocentric system, and then they had to approach many other things. They had to invent other things, so that people said, oh yeah, this is a proof for the heliocentric earth, for example, gravity. On a ball, you could not, you would fall off the globe earth if there was no gravity, and that explains everything. And for me, gravity is the absolute one of the biggest deceptions of all times. And that's why this episode I just thought about anti-science, because if it is science of the Antichrist spread, then it's anti-science.
Yeah,
it is not science.
Right. Because anti is really just another word for replacing science, replacing God with a a false system of belief. Can we call it that, Michael? This Romanism?
Actually, their science is belief, because you cannot prove it. You have to believe it. You have to believe it because you lack the methods, you lack the tools. You cannot verify their claims. They got the biggest telescopes, they got the biggest laboratoriums. You see that you cannot even see the things out there. Let's face it, the coronavirus. You cannot see it. You have to believe it. You cannot see it, you cannot grasp it, you cannot prove it. You have to believe it. It's just a belief system. And I know that bacteria, for example, should be in existence, but things are very, very complicated because you cannot get it with your senses. Therefore, you only have to believe the people, and I don't believe anybody. I just believe that God created everything, which is perfect, and I don't believe any dogma or any doctrine, because from time to time they have failed. For thousands of years, people thought about the Ptolemaic system, and then they think about since 1533, 34, they think about or 43. Think about the Copernican system since almost 500 years. So you see that 500 years, it's a very long time. But maybe in 10 years or 20 years, they come up with another theory. And all the people who have believed in the Copernican system or in the Ptolemaic system or in this or in that will be proven wrong. Although universities and schools and professors and teachers have learned that it's the absolute truth of their time, but it's not absolute, it's just a doctrine. The doctrine to put the people away from the Bible. So what do you need? You need a universe which is spinning, you need the earth which is spinning, you need a system which you then call the solar system because the sun is supposed to be still. It is always in deception and always in comparison to the Bible, it has to be the opposite. And so they come up with all their doctrines, with all their wrong theories about evolution, gravity, and what else do we got? Oh, there is plenty of things to come. So welcome to anti-science, or what is it in the King James Bible, Brad? Science so-called. Science, so-called. Yeah, this is Timothy, Brad.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and 1 Timothy 6:20 reads, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and opposition of science falsely so-called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. Science forces the cloud, and we know that it is gnosis. If we look at we would look it up on the eSort software, which I can highly recommend. That's the eSort software. You will find that it's gnosis. So it's a Gnostic teaching. Okay. So to blind someone with science, you know, that's is to confuse, and Satan is the confuser. To confuse by the use of big words and complex explanations. Science so-called, that was 1 Timothy. For example, people intend to tell you that you have to think of the universe as not a fixed place, but it is expanding, the expanding universe, and that should be or has been proven with the so-called redshift, so that you know that all these objects, if you got a redshift, we can look it up on Wikipedia, you see that is just a moving and expanding universe, so redshift. What is redshift? European Space Agency tells you, quote, ever since 1929, when Edwin Hubble discovered that the universe is expanding, we have known that most other galaxies are moving away from us. Light from these galaxies is shifted to longer, and this means redder wavelength. In other words, it is red-shifted. So that is their official explanation.
Oh, Michael, can I comment on that for a second?
Every time.
You know, it's interesting they say universe, because we know what universal is. Yeah, Catholicism is expanding. It's just that they're not telling you that, you know, it's, you can look at this in terms of, you know, a religious kind of aspect. And yeah, and who is the red aspect here? Is that the dragon? Is it, you know, I don't know. I tend to read into this as in a different way, but Yeah, we got the Hubble telescope and all that, don't we, Michael? It's
No.
strange stuff.
No. You have been told that there is a Hubble telescope. You see, we have to be very careful. We have been told there is a Hubble telescope. We have been told that this redshift allegedly proves that the Earth, or at least the universe, is expanding. Not the Earth, of course, but the universe should be expanding. Right. But it's all a belief system, because you see that there is no consensus in science. The only consensus in science is that whoever gives the money gets the appropriate quotes and researches, etc., and prices.
Oh, Michael, I just want to read something in Scripture just for a moment. And this is out of a study that I was doing some months ago on the book of Isaiah. And, you know, this is a passage of Scripture that's hit me really hard. Isaiah 45:18, Michael. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to share this scripture as long as we're dealing with this science topic. Isaiah 45:18. For thus saith the Lord that created the heavens, God himself that formed the earth and made it. He established it. He created it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord, and there is none else. I have not spoken in secret, in a dark place of the earth. I said not unto the seed of Jacob, seek ye me in vain. I, the Lord, speak righteousness. I declare things that are right. Assemble yourselves and come, draw near together, that ye that are escaped of the nations, they have no knowledge, that set up the wood of their graven image and pray unto a God that cannot save. And this really hit me some months ago when I came across it, because I was doing some Bible searches along the lines of Israel, because, you know, Tom and Yerk are doing their sessions on Israel there on you know, Yerk Listman's Juggler 66 channel, and it just got me thinking, you know, we really ought to think more about what the Bible has to say about Israel, because it's spiritual Israel today. It's no longer a physical Israel, and I think it really will hit a person really hard when they realize that there is no way they can know who is of Israel and who is not, because that is the Lord's. It's his knowledge. It's not even ours. So oftentimes we judge others or make mistakes and end up paying for it later in ways that we don't really recognize at times, let's just say. And yeah, I think it's really important that we realize that we should be escaped of the nations. We shouldn't be serving the nations. We shouldn't be paying attention to their silly laws. And, well, we have to pay attention to their laws, but I mean, we don't need to obey all of their laws when they are out of the realm of, you know, where Christ resides, which can be rather tricky at times. Take, for instance, these mandates. Where does a mandate come from? Comes from the Pope. Oh, I talked too soon, Michael. You have to study for yourself. But I've come to the conclusion that we don't need to obey the Pope, Michael.
Yeah, the Pope's got his own observatorium.
Yeah. And they give it a really strange name, don't they?
Not of the observatory. We will come to that in a few sessions from now, maybe in 10 sessions or 12, I don't know. But it's not the thing that you think it is. Actually, you will be very surprised. You will be very surprised how everything will turn out. But it's they control the science. They control the science, they control the money, therefore they control the science, they control the economy, they control everything by money. Also by doctrine, of course, but by money. You cannot research, you cannot work as a scientist, as a researcher, if you don't have money to buy something to eat and to drink. Yeah, you see that you're always depending, in this world, you're always depending on materialistic things and needs. So thank you very much for that precious Bible verse. Especially it's therefore very fitting, because it has been said here in the verse 18, God created the heavens, and not evolution, Big Bang or something like this. That will come later up. God himself formed the earth and made it. He hath established it. He created it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. And also it's been said that this firmament is fixed. Yeah, it is fixed. God called the firmament heaven. What is a firmament? Firmament means, from Latin firmamentum, a support, a strengthening, from firmus, strong, steadfast, enduring. It doesn't speak about an expanding universe. And it also doesn't speak about flying earth or something like this. Yeah, so to make firm or solid. Yeah, so that is not in any kind, case, shape or form flexible, but it is solid. It's a firmament. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. And all these so-called, I got into this, where was it? Here, redshift, expanding the universe. You see, this is all just, this is from Hubble, and this is the same baloney as the Big Bang theory. Has nothing to be worth discussing even, because it is just a theory. Because it is still a theory, Big Bang, because nobody was there to record anything. It is, if you like to say so, it is not historical, because nobody was there to have some record, scroll, book, something like that. No witnesses, nothing. It is just another belief system. It is not science, because you cannot prove it. You cannot prove it. We have to rely on the scientists. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's true, and the agnostics will always turn it around and say you cannot prove God exists. See, that's how this works. You know, with faith, Michael. You know, the natural faith, the natural man in the Bible. And yeah, just search that sometime, dear listener, and study it on your own.
We got a cause why God built everything and created mankind. So, but tell me then, please, on the other hand, what was the cause and what is the reason why the galaxy came out of nothing with a big bang and expanding rapidly? Yeah, I don't see any logical conclusion why it should be. Just the galaxy had a bad day, has on Monday morning, nothing else to do but to have a big bang and to create anything out of nothing. Now you see that they try to tell you with their science that you are just a piece of shit, that you are just a piece of matter.
Right, because what they're doing is they're making the Earth into a planet just like billions and billions of other planets in our solar galaxy, whatever universe. And we can go hop to one and another, and we can do all kinds of fancy time travel and all this garbage. I don't buy it, Michael.
You don't have to buy it. The problem is that these people are being educated, indoctrinated in the school system. The school system is teaching people things they cannot prove.
Right. Studiorum.
It is just an assumption of theories. One theory after the other. Evolution, Big Bang, string. What else will come up? You see redshift. It just all looks very fancy. They're blind to the science.
How about casuistry and sophistry, Michael?
Yeah. This is just one example. Wandering planet. Yes, a planet means wandering star. My. Yeah, but you don't have, many people don't know that because they spent their time actually on other subjects. They know who won the World Cup in 1968. They know who defeated Muhammad Ali. They know when Frank Sinatra died. You see that the majority of people are just into superficial things. They don't they don't care for truth. They don't care. You see, that just have no, in no way any.
Well, it's even worse than that, Michael, because young children get indoctrinated with this, whether they want it or not. They don't have a choice. They see their parents growing up, and you know, they see them writing checks, you know, to pay bills, and they think, well, there's money everywhere, and we have all kinds of money, so there's nothing to worry about, and blah blah blah, right? Mm-hmm. So you get, you know, Greta Thunberg, blah blah blah, and then you get politicians, blah blah blah, and look at what we have right now. Wow, what a whopping mess.
Wow, look at this. Isn't that convincing? Wow, a tube, a space and time and scientific evidence. Yeah.
It's just garbage, man.
Yeah, we know that it's garbage, but 98 or 99% of the people actually, they buy that garbage because they know that 98 or 99% of the people have bought the garbage before. And this is just the majority of people. Sheep are looking also for the leading sheep or the leader or what else. They don't look for truth. They just look for somebody who says, okay, this is correct and that's not correct. Yeah, so that they don't have to research it on their own, because they just want to spend their time in front of television, in front of a vision, yeah, in front of a lying vision, in front of or together with other people. They don't want to research because it's just boring, it takes time, and you're out on your own, of course.
Well, isn't that interesting? That scripture we just read, that you know, it says that the Lord created the heavens, and God himself that formed the earth made it. He established it. He created it not in vain. Mm-hmm. Not in vain. And here he says, seek ye me in vain. It says, I'm sorry, I said not unto the seed of Jacob, seek ye me in vain. And look what we have. Seek me in vain today. It's called television. Yes.
Yeah, that's the interesting part actually, is that people prefer to be in this world full of lies, telling you that you are being.
It's a wicked thing. I mean, look at, God is speaking of righteousness in the scripture. I, the Lord, speak righteousness. I declare the things that are right. But what do we have? No, no, no.
You see this
Satan speaks wickedness and declares the things that are wrong. That's what's going on here.
Yeah, you see, I'm constantly bombarded with distraction here. I cannot read even one article before another ad is popping up. Yeah, wow. That's the goal. You see, that all looks very fancy, but it has nothing to do with the truth. And that's the real problem with it. You see, if you're really researching things, then you come down to the conclusion that nothing can be proven.
And not only that, but they keep upping the ante, Michael. It's 4K video, and now it's 6K, and then tomorrow it's 8K, and then we have 12K and 16. Oh, the further you go, the more it takes, and the more information just gets slammed into your brain. And look at how pretty it is. Yeah, it's really pretty. What does that remind you of, Michael? Genesis?
No, it's just quantity over quality. You see, that's a problem with these people who don't have any arguments, but just arguing that, oh, the majority of people, and it has been proven, has been taught in all the universities, has been stated as a fact for hundreds of years, etc., etc. But there is no consensus. It is no consensus in the virus thing. It is no consensus in the climate change. It is not a consensus in science in general, and that's the thing. If there would be, there would not be any changes, there would not be any new discoveries. You see that only the new discoveries will be accepted, who would then be in line with the theories mentioned before. So that they will look for the appropriate scientific research, for the appropriate scientific people, and then when a new theory is coming up, which actually serves the Catholic Church or serves their scientists, then they will be published and they will get rewards and Nobel prizes, etc. That's the thing. For example, here this Carl Sagan, which is, I think, an American broadcaster, very popular author in the 20th century. He is not into the Bible at all, but I have just stumbled upon the fact that he was telling in one of his series, a tribute to Halton Arpo proved Hubble correct about the redshift not always relating to the DOP. So there are certain other theories that has to do with frequency change and everything else. And actually, nobody knows a thing. Yeah, but the one who comes up with the most brilliant example or the brilliant explanation, which says it does not say anything about the truth, but comes up with the most brilliant explanation, he gets a reward. It's just a bunch of theories. That's it. That I wanted to point out that this is not truth. Yeah? Even Carl Sagan had to admit, quote, there is nevertheless a nagging suspicion among some astronomers that all may not be right with the deduction from the redshift of galaxies via the Doppler effect that the universe is expanding. Oh, there is not a consensus. Not all do agree. Oh. But you see that was last century, of course. In this century, everything has been proven and everybody agrees. You see, this is the new normal. Don't question the authorities. Don't question. Yeah. The problem is here that the famous and of course infamous at the same time, because he's got much truth in this, Swiss historian Dr. Daniele Ganser said also that Wikipedia is no democracy and has no structure of right, that the rules apply to everybody because it is just an administered thing. It has nothing to do with a democratic thing, but it's a patronage system, which means there are a few big players in it who decide what to print and what to point out on Wikipedia and what not. That's the problem. Yeah, men think they are being free, but they are being enslaved by doctrines, not only by government legislation, but also by doctrine, by spiritual doctrines in their head, that they believe things they have learned in the kindergarten, in the school, later on in the universities, and then being seen as regular truth in society since hundreds of years.
Yeah, that's very true, Michael. Very, very true. And this is kind of where we get to, really try and emphasize to our listeners that the Sabbath does make a difference. Taking a rest on the seventh day does make a difference because the Lord hallowed it in his law in the old covenant that transferred right over to the new. And if we observe that, we can take the time and do those things on our day of rest. We can really look deeper into why we're in such trouble, Michael.
Yeah, but a man who chooses safety and security is a slave no matter how much money he has. So material things won't get you spiritual freedom or spiritual truth. It is just another, it just totally... Yeah,
well,
totally.
Right, because the spirit is in conflict with the flesh, and the flesh is in conflict with the spirit.
Yeah, but the thing is that the problem actually is that the science has to be founded, it has to be financed, and so science it's not a spiritual dimension. Science is always a financial matter. So then right. Science is very much dependent on the state and the people who are funding it. So you get the politicians get the answer from the scientists they demand it, because the scientists they work for the government most of the times. There are very few so-called independent researchers like us, for example, because we do not get money from the state or from the university for some kind of research or from some kind of book or something else. And that's the problem, actually. So you get your scientific reward in terms of fame, fortune, and prizes. And on the other hand, the politicians, governments, and companies, they get the reward that they get the studies they need to fulfill their doctrine. You will always find some scientist who will prove your theory. Or he claims to prove his theory. That's the nitty-gritty of it all. There is no independent researcher. They are all bound in a hierarchy. They are bound in government, state, non-government organizations, etc. But they are all being financed and founded. That's the problem. On the other hand, I have come across an interesting alleged ex-KGB agent, Soviet agent named Yuri Bezmenov, who, this is just promotion, who warns America, but it is just that was a very interesting thought I got. And he says the first step is the demoralization. You need between 50 to 20 years to totally demoralize a nation. And I said, okay, well, 50 to 20 years is the average education, the average lifespan of somebody who's been educated and indoctrinated in a system. So if you got one generation of people from the kindergarten to school to university, you need about 20 years. Yeah, so from 5 years to 25 years, and then you stuff all the anti-biblical gnosis science into them and tell them that it's the truth, and you have to record it by memory, and therefore you get good grades. Has nothing to do with the truth, but you have to function in that Antichrist system. And so that when you have learned it for about 20 years, yeah, you actually believe it. It's the same as, for example, it's the same as the Jesuitical, help me out, Brett, on this, not the Jesuitical exercises where they take their apprentices and they educate them for about 20 years for being at the last level. So you get the indoctrination for 20 years also in a school system, which is also a kind of a Jesuitical indoctrination in the school system.
Yeah, the Ignatius Loyola spiritual exercises.
Yeah, but this is not a spiritual exercises that you concentrate on something. This is just to function in that world outside, so that you don't question anything, because it is a consensus. It has been approved that this is the truth about the big man, etc. That it all comes down to Jesuitical anti-science. Anti means against the Bible, from at least 1599, Ratio Historiorum, and it started, we know that much more earlier, about 50 years earlier, in Portugal, for example. And you see that for about 500 years, people are being Jesuitically indoctrinated without even knowing it.
Well, and that's the thing where the spiritual exercises come in, because that's brainwashing.
Yeah, but you will get rewarded by that brainwashing. The better your brain is washed and you are functioning for the state and government and their total doctrine of anti-biblical doctrine, yeah, you will get rewarded. You will get fame, prizes, and a good position, and maybe, some other awards. Yeah, so that's my point actually. Yeah. And it has been asked why you need that much amount of years. And he said, okay, this is the minimal time span which is needed to educate or indoctrinate a generation of students. And he's absolutely right. This is for another thing. This is a political thing here, yeah. But it would also apply for science and apply for school system and school education in general, of course. That's it. And so your children get another education than you got, because the truth is always changing, and language is changing, everything is changing, and so they think they are much smarter than their parents. They don't get that they got just another doctrine also to spread fear and diversion between youngsters and elders. So this is all indoctrination. This is learning against learning. This is Medici learning. That's what they all do. And people don't get it because they think, oh yeah, all my friends in schools, they think the same way. Nobody's telling about this stupid old Bible, for example. And what is the outcome? The outcome is, when you look at the Bible, you are made in the image of God. Yeah, okay, made in the image of God. Yeah, yeah. You can have eternal life. Yeah. You got a purpose in life to serve others. So, and then, now you compare that with the Gnostic system. Yeah, you are a successor of apes. Yeah, yeah. Only live once. Yeah, except you are James Bond, you only live twice. Yeah. And your only purpose is, as you are pure matter, just do what thou wilt, do what thou wilt. Yeah. Just the fun generation, okay, in general, the fun generation. Yeah. So you are on a fixed earth. Yeah, you're just on a spinning planet. Yeah, not important or unimportant. Yeah. Oops, sorry. Yeah. So you compare that. Yeah, you people prefer to be successors of apes who only live once, who are just simply dumb and deaf matter, and they just have to have fun, and nothing else is important. Yeah. So that's what they actually prefer. In spite of being actually made in the image of God, having eternal life, having to serve a purpose on earth, and living in a perfect environment, yeah, they choose to just be successors of apes, being dumbed down, and being just on this earth just once, and just being foolish and have fun no matter what. Yeah, and you talk about intelligence.
Oh, you got to put down preach the gospel under fixed earth. And what's the opposite of preaching the gospel, Mike?
Gospel would be, sorry, would be Mark 16:15. Preaching the gospel. No, just be.
I'll tell you, it's easy. Exterminating the heretics.
Yeah. Yeah. People prefer to be seen as a successor of apes. A stupid cattle or what else you like to name it. It's unbelievable, but that's what the school system is telling them, that you are not important, you only have to function. You are just a brainless machine, just want to have some fun on your fleshly body. Yeah, drink, eat, fornicate, sleep, what else you would like to do, because you only have this life. And that's what they all, or the majority of them, believe. Isn't that very, very sad? Yeah. Roger Monod once said that the occult is introducing things, for example, hypnosis, etc., as a new science, and he's absolutely correct. We did that on that Greece episode, and not only hypnosis, but also other things, that meditation stuff, for example, and all the other things. So this is just to promote things which actually are harming people as a new science. Yeah, so everything which is pro-life, it has to get rid of in the satanic world. For example, this mother or this woman here, which is breastfeeding a young baby here, or at least a young child. The poster here says in German Zukunft or Klimakiller, which means future or climate killer. So that means that the baby is either the future or is a climate killer. And we got high school teachers here in Germany who openly were promoting that they just want to have no kids to save the climate. Yeah,
it's and what interesting. There's that checkerboard floor in the background there, Michael.
Oh, this is just, I think it's a railway station or something like this. Now this is an open. This is an open. Yeah, this is an open column here, which is meant as an advertisement for documentaries on art channel in Europe or in Germany. Okay, so that's a problem, that the rulers know that the masses have never thirsted after truth, because truth is Jesus Christ. So the masses have never thirsted after Jesus Christ. They turn aside from evidence of. We can do it in Bible speech. The masses have never thirsted after Jesus Christ. They turn aside from the Bible, which is not to their taste, preferring to deify Satan if Satan seduces them. Whoever can supply them with illusions is easily their master. Whoever attempts to destroy their illusions is always their victim. And now you can exchange or replace illusions also with science. Whoever can supply them with science is easily their master. whoever attempts to destroy their science is always their victim. This is Gustave Le Bon, Psychology of the Masses. And after school, the deception goes on. It's not only Pink Floyd here, but it's just that, yeah, you're just coming down from apes and you've been kept busy with Rubik's Cubes and with UFOs and just have fun and don't think about anything because you, or the DNA, yeah, strand here and the brain, and you are busy at your entire life, but you're being fed with useless informations called indoctrination. Yeah, and also you are also feeding the system with money. That's very interesting. There are very, very few books where you can look things up. One example would be Alberto Martinez, History of Science. I don't have had the time yet to read that book. I think it would be a very interesting read. A quote here of Jeremy Gray, the Open University, is, quote, Martinez refutes several well-established myths and misunderstandings in the history of science. This is at once a work of solid scholarship and an education in how to do history of science, and it can be read with pleasure and excitement by anyone who cares about the place of science in the modern world, unquote. Once again, I haven't read that book. I cannot recommend it. I think it's very interesting to look at other things, that various myths about history of science, because as we have known from Galileo, for example, there are many things which are not true, which are believed by the majority of people. So I would really like to have a read in that book, for example. Yeah, and I know that he's done also videos about the subject. This is Lies and Truth in the History of Science. Alberto Martinez is a professor, Department of History at the University of Texas at Austin. Yeah, we know all, please, that he's one guy playing in the system. But I just wanted to have some interesting things that people who are actually maybe coming from science have also sources of a different approach. Yeah, so I would just like to hand over without any recommendation things like this, that you can study the things if there were so. Yeah, because you see that every time I come across to science in general, I come across the church, which is the most prominent and the most wealthy institution who is promoting science. Yeah, we have studied last time that even I think it was Riccioli who said that the scriptures had to be adjusted when there is a scientific proof. You must imagine that. You must imagine that sentence. Yeah. So let's face it. This world is full of lies. We have been taught about the theory of gravity, that if there is an object which is heavier, that this will attract smaller objects. So they can explain, they have a theory that can explain how the scholar, how they can explain how the solar system actually works with all the different planets and all the different movements. Yeah, and there's also a thing called anti-gravity. Yeah, a non-gravitational field, a hypothetical phenomenon of creating a place or object that is free from the force of gravity. You see that gravity cannot be explained well, and it cannot be proven also. It is just a theory, which has to be fitted, or is fitting into the Jesuitical worldview of a heliocentric system, where just everything is flying around the sun, which of course is the symbol of the Jesuits and the symbol of the Catholic Church. Yeah. But there are other things to determine, for example, electromagnetic fields. So they try to think about the secret of the Almighty God, how everything has been connected and how everything was created, and it will never get it because God will not allow it. Yeah, so it's just the snake, it's just Satan who comes up with many deceptions, and yeah, you got a century of this, you got a century of that, and at the current time we are still thinking that the theory of relativity of Albert Einstein is correct, although it has been named a theory, as well as the theory of evolution, as well as the theory of gravitation, as well as the theory of the moving universe, as well. And I hope I haven't forgotten anything. The possibility of, this is Wikipedia, the possibility of creating anti-gravity depends upon a complete understanding and description of gravity. Yeah, this is very interesting because nobody gets that. Even Isaac Newton didn't got it. He tried to explain it with his apple. Yeah, why an apple? Yeah, because with an apple, this is common belief, this is not biblical belief, but with common belief, an apple was the item where Satan deceives mankind. And once again, you have the same artifact here with the Isaac Newton and his apple. It's the same symbol. It's Isaac Newton with his famous apple. It's a legend. Yeah, even that is not just a theory. Legend has it. Yeah, once again, nationalgeographic.org says legend has it. Who he was. It still looks like kind of a brother of Rod Stewart to me. Yeah, but you see that legend has it. Legend has it that Newton formulated gravitational theory in 1665 or in 1666. Who knows? After watching an apple fall and asking why the apple fell straight down rather than sideways or even upward. How hard can it be? How hard can it be? Yeah, but legend has it. Yeah, so legend has it, and you will not never have a complete understanding of gravity because, once again, I say that gravity does not exist. There are just other forces and other explanations, but it has not to do with gravity. No. Such as general relativity in interaction with other physical theories. So one theory can only be proven if you have an interaction with another theory, such as general relativity and quantum mechanics. As of 2021, physicists have yet to discover a quantum theory of gravity. I found in a German forum, I found an interesting article. I will read it to you. It's just from a guy calling himself Libertino. Okay. Yeah. It's just see that the electric universe, plasma, physicists, electromechanics, gravity, magnetism. You got a bunch of things, and sometimes I've stumbled upon a fellow who can think straight, and this is one of the very, very few occasions. Okay. I have retranslated into English. We are told that space is a vacuum. We are also told that rockets, after launching from Earth, enter weightlessness at some magic point. First, it is physically impossible to develop thrust in a vacuum because there is nothing to push off from. There, the legend of space travel already collapses. Oh yeah, I know this is for the future upcoming NASA space travel session. Secondly, up to this magic limit, everything would immediately fall back down to Earth if there is no further propulsion. But as soon as one has overcome this point, then there is no more propulsion. Why doesn't the rocket fall back to the Earth? Or because of the hypothetical gravity? What is gravity? The physicists say themselves they can neither understand it nor measure it. They say they can predict it, however reliable. This is true magic. You see, magic is a belief system. It is a pagan religious cult. Every child can reliably predict that objects fall from the top to the bottom. What a child can't say, but an educated and thinking adult can, that it depends on the density of the different objects. So a balloon filled with helium or hot air rises, but one filled with air sinks. A penny thrown into the ocean makes it sink immediately to the bottom, but huge container ship, aircraft carriers also made of metal only billions of times heavier, they are not pulled to the bottom of the ocean by this magic force of gravity. And this although the Freemason physicists say that gravitation should have a stronger effect on larger objects. Where does the term gravitation actually come from? What is the meaning of the word? You must be familiar with the term engraving. This is the carving or engraving of writing of symbols, either in metal or in stone. Gravitation is therefore the art of the stonemasons, and in English the Freemasons are called the Freemasons. I don't follow the path with the Freemasons here, but I follow the explanation of density. I don't follow the path of gravitation. Absolutely not. And people have contradicted this argument and said, oh, no, there is a force pro and a force contra, anti-force and so anti-gravity, etc. And he replied once again, the principle of recoil is trust. What is the rocket supposed to repel from if there is nothing up there according to the official explanation? Or do you seriously want to claim that a rocket in 5, 10, 20, 80 kilometers high does not repel itself from the air under it, but still from the Earth's surface? Then the simplest logic and physics seem to be unknown to you despite your studies. But I can understand it because you learned lies at apparent truth in your studies, just as the doctors were brought in line by Rockefeller's lies during their medical study, and that's why they go along with the whole circus nowadays. And the whole circus nowadays is not only the Foucault pendulum, but also gravity. There is a certain Eric Lathwaite and has a part, or a big part, of anti-gravity, hidden science, Saturn symbolism, etc. There is a link, there's a PDF, etc. And there are many videos of him that there are many strange artifacts which cannot explain by gravity, or they actually defy gravity. But it has been said that this is a major or fundamental force in our so-called solar system. Yeah, solar system. I have to look it up where it is. Ah, there it was, yeah. So meet Eric Lathwaite, a professor who gives a demonstration of a large gyro wheel. So you see that a gyroscope, for example, was been placed in World War II rockets so that they can function and they can hit the target properly, etc. So Professor Eric Lathwaite, former professor of heavy electrical engineering at Imperial College London, shows what happens when a very heavy wheel is spun to 2,500 rotations per minute, recorded in 1983. Eric Lathwaite in 1983 in his 60s literally lifts, so more than 60 years old, literally lifts a 40-pound weight like a feather and with no centripetal force or angular momentum, and just guides the heavy weight in the direction it already decided to go. WTF is going on? This is unbelievable. Yeah? This is unbelievable. Literary proof of anti-gravity. Please ignore every mainstream science explanation of what this brilliant man just did in that video. Lifting 40 pounds with no effort is near impossible for anyone, much less an old man. Use your brains, people. Use your brains. Also know that he guides the gyroscope spinning wheel in the direction it wants to go, in example in the direction of its precession. He essentially applies a force in that direction which somehow causes the gyroscope to want to lift upwards. What sorcery is this? Huh? You see, we can get lost in all this so-called science, but there is also some things are there which are proving us that there are some things going on which is not the debate of the scientists, because we have been bombarded with gravity since 350 years from, for example, Isaac Newton and others. Here is an example of an Olympic hammer throw, which involves throwing a heavy ball, high inertia, by rotating around very fast to build up high angular momentum. This generates a large centripetal force, so it requires a super strong athlete. You know all what he's talking about. Eric Lathwaite essentially proves that the spinning object's precession has no or very little angular momentum, inertia, or centripetal force. Amazing. So I'm not the doctor of physicists here, so that I cannot argue about this, but next time you go to the gym, go and arm curl 40 pounds if you can, much less casually twirl around your head and when you are 16 plus years old. Huh? So you have a hard time making a bicep workout with the 50-pound dumbbell, but a 60-plus-year-old guy can easily move a 40-pound object around his head, or over his head, actually. Huh? I couldn't find a 40-pounder dumbbell curl video, but this 50-pound curl video is good enough. Imagine spinning the weights. Yeah. So it seems there is not something to it, and it's not gravity. So this is the Royal Institution where science lives here. Oh, science is a living thing. I never knew that. Lecture for the Jabberwock. In this lecture, Lathwaite uses the behavior. Oh, I have to make it a little bit more readable here. Lathwaite uses the behavioral gyroscopes in an attempt to challenge the validity of Newton's laws of motion and the laws of thermodynamics. This proved extremely controversial, and the vast majority of the scientific community did not accept his interpretation of gyroscopic behavior. 1974. So I found that also very interesting. There are some people who are not officially promoted, but you can find them on the internet, that there is something to it which is not according to the official indoctrination system. There you have it, folks. The same pathetic scientific community that haven't spoken out about the stupidity of aluminium planes slicing through steel at abnormal speeds and turning 7 buildings into superfine dust in midair, leaving very little rubble or seismic impact on September 11, have also been covering up one of the most bombshell, irrefutable experimental proof of gyroscopes defying our man-made laws of motion. Defying our man-made so-called laws of nature, and more specifically of gravity. The great Eric Lathwaite didn't attempt to challenge anyone or anything. What he did do was show that objects in rotational motion can't be explained by classical theory, and it's about damn time we all woke up to this fact. And given the weaponization of free energy technology, so this is the opinion of the author, and the countless UFO sightings around the world, anti-gravity technology is almost certainly being utilized and weaponized while we are kept grounded in the global industrial slavery complex. Okay, this is just opinion, but there is of course some truth of it. So I think that you are very curious now to learn that anti-science is the new religion. We know, it's just, I pointed out that this is just things which you can verify when your own eyes. Of course, it is a television, yeah, so it tells a vision. But on the other hand, you see that it's very more more easy to verify than something of gravity which you cannot see, which you just have to believe. So if this guy is just a wizard or somebody who's using his brain cells, it's just simply up to you. And of course, this is not magic, because he's not worshipping any pagan god. He's just simply trying to think straight and trying to show people things which I think that the majority of the listeners out there have never ever encountered. A gyroscope 300 times the weight of a flimsy stand on ice is still able to precess if effortlessly. Literally, this is some amazing stuff. Yeah, even little kids can lift heavy gyros, anti-gravity. So there must be something wrong in our explanation, which has been given to us by our school indoctrination religio derived system, I think. And that is also very interesting, unless they come up with a new idea and a new theory. Yeah? But he didn't win any Nobel Prize. No, he didn't get any Nobel Prize. Yeah, but thanks to this Professor Lathwaite, we have some very strange things that science is not able to explain. Yeah, he also did Christmas lectures. We know that he was not a Bible-believing But that's not the point here. The point is here that he was an official person, a professor of electrical engineering at the Imperial College for more than 20 years. So that we can take into consideration that he was aware of the scientific belief of his time. Let's point it this way. Let's point it mildly here. Don't want to interpret anything, but this is just so that he was delivering theories of the Royal Institution's Christmas lectures. So we know that is a pagan holiday, but nevertheless. His first series, The Engineer in Wonderland of 1966 or 7, was the first to be televised on the new BBC 2 channel. Yeah, this is Eric Laithwaite. Yeah. But the Royal Institution didn't accept Laithwaite's irrefutable paper and wanted to stop him from telling the truth in this Christmas lecture the author is claiming. The Royal Institution, etc. Yeah. They refused to believe things because it would go against their ratios to religionem. That's it. They would go against the official doctrine of gravity. So this is very interesting stuff. I'd say that maybe in the last part of this session, I think we can make it about 10 minutes or 20 minutes. We will go into a little bit of Eric Laithwaite, and then we sum it up with a little bit of videos of Eric Laithwaite. So maybe you get curious that you have now real visual proof that everything has been said to you out there of so-called science of this world isn't the truth. So Eric Robert Laithwaite, born 1921. He was a professor of heavy electrical engineering, a professor of the Royal Institution, and had 2 sons and died in 1997. He shared his enthusiasm for engineering at every opportunity. He is remembered with affection by students he inspired at Manchester University, where he was a lecturer, etc., etc., Imperial College London, where he was a professor. He enthused other audiences too, both professional colleagues and the general public, but he liked most an audience of young people whom he might inspire to pursue engineering careers. Yeah, Engineer in Wonderland. I think we've done so far on the real facts. Yeah, okay. Let's dive in it. This is my photo of anti-gravity. And you see some pictures, for example, this picture here of this elderly man. And let's look it up what I have found. Things I have tons of links. I don't know if they are still working. And I've got also videos of him. And I think I got these videos by archive.org. I cannot remember it properly because I have done it in May, so that it's almost at the, it's half a year ago. Yeah, you see the same, the half a year ago exactly. So let me introduce you to Eric Laithwaite and his spinning gyroscopes. Yeah. Oh, sorry, this is the summation. This is the summation. Yeah, this is a very interesting summation. It's also about Saturn symbolicity, Jesuit rings. Yeah, the Kabbalah, etc. Washington. Yeah. So it's more like more to our taste, Brett, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just wanted to show you some visual things. Yeah, you see this is just from 1983. And you don't have any sound of it. Yeah. So he's got here a big weight. And he's swinging it in a circle with one hand. Yeah, so he will not demonstrate the weight of it using a very old-fashioned tool. about 40 pounds. Now he's spinning it up to 2,500 rotations. And then he wants to lift it 5 feet up in the air in 3 seconds. So they are spinning it now at the moment. The screwdriver. Yeah, it sounds like it's not. Now the plates are spinning, and he's only lifting it with the remote end with no effort. It's just steering it along its own path, and it's still spinning. Now, this is more than 40 pounds. You can try that on your own. Now he's putting the disc to a stop, apparently. You can try to lift 40 pounds over your head. Yeah, and so that was one of his experiments. I don't know if you had any minor sounds on it, but you just want to point out that science, you see that they're just putting out some truth, and then they mix it up with their lies, who are easily all about anti-biblical things. Yeah. So my point actually is, you got here an example where you can start if you are going that path of science. You can start and you can think for yourself if everything they talk to you and they indoctrinated to you, if that is correct or not. And I suppose the answer is quite obvious. So it would take too long to insert it here, a complete example. Maybe I can do that when I edited the video later on. But you see that, yeah, it's very interesting if you look it up from the viewpoint that they actually claim, oh yeah, this is gravity, this is holding the universe together, when it is actually God which is holding the universe together. Yeah, it's something you have to see it in the context to really think that it has nothing to do with the things you learn in school. Now that's really the problem, that you've been easily deceived in school. So easily deceived. Yeah, you think of your teacher to be the authority. Yeah. So objects in rotation defy mainstream physics. Objects in rotation defy mainstream physics. Yeah, I got a ton of videos. I haven't looked it up. It's about 10 hours long here. You see that. When would I ever have the time to do? Yeah, but once again, it's so interesting if you look it up, that it's also contradicting so many teachings out there. It's not funny anymore. It's absolutely not funny anymore. Yeah, we all just been indoctrinated apes, something like this. Yeah. So I stop it here, and I also look at this, another 10 hours maybe. Yes, 11 hours, great. Yeah, so it's enough thing to keep busy with on a lazy winter day, on a dark day outside. Yeah, it's so interesting when you look all the facts here, then you will easily see that that there is a reason why they don't debate many things. They say that everything has been proven, and it's an argumentum ad populum. It's the argument about the majority, that the majority always is right, and we know from the Bible that the majority always is wrong because the majority is on the broad way. And therefore, I like to close it down with my beloved brother Brett. So Brett, I hope that it was a little bit interesting in that session, that you have to really search the internet for having a non-mainstream opinion about things. And I say once again that people are fooling us big time.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, this is a really difficult position that we are in this world, because we are crowded out by this kind of mentality, this indoctrination just is all encompassing. And I've found that you need to take a break from that once in a while and think differently about it, because if you go down the road that we are presented, Michael, in these topics, that oftentimes we're led to a place where, you know, we really don't have a choice. I mean, that's the doctrine of our enemy, is to lead us into a place where we cannot compromise with that at any given moment, at any time. It takes over. Have you ever heard the expression, you know, you give them an inch and it'll take a mile? Well, that's essentially how this kind of science works, Michael, is once you give it any credibility, it just takes over. And yeah, I don't know. It's really strange, because things just aren't what they seem. Things are not what we thought they were when we're presented with, you know, these arguments, these deep distractions, you know, putting all these formulas and mathematics in front of us to explain what God did. And instead of just taking the simplicity of living our lives and obeying the Creator's laws, then we have to defy the Creator's law in order to observe man's law. So it's a really backward way, but that's how it works, and this is the system we live in, and we didn't have a choice. It just happened to work this way. And well, when you read the Bible, it really opens up your mind to the real truth behind it all. So Michael, yeah, we're really gonna get into looks like a very interesting perspective on this science, and I'm looking forward to continuing in this direction and figuring out how simple the Bible really is, and really we don't need to worry too much, because God made it all. It's all His, and He's going to come back at His given time. It's not our it's not what we can control. It's out of our control. That's the point, is we need to let the Creator guide us into His truth. So looking forward to the next session, Michael, and I think that's all I've got, and we'll catch up with you then. God bless. Maranatha.